Hey, what's up, WKDT fans? I'm your CIC cadet Nicholas LeVay, class of 2019, and we got a special guest with us here today. We just had the BB Rexa concert, and it's my man Tosa Brooks in the building. Tosa, how you doing?
Hey, man, I'm doing great. I'm blessed to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, brother. I am so glad that you made it here for the concert. I know we worked really hard to make this happen for a really long time, and it just... to see it actually go down tonight was so cool, man. And I know Brad, I'm sorry, Brad, I didn't introduce you. So, Brad, if you'd like to introduce yourself to the people, I'll give you a quick intro. He is Tosa Brooks' manager, and Tosa and Brad are both West Point graduates. So I want you to speak a little bit about, how you got into music. And, I know the story already, but, tell the people kind of how you developed the image Tosa Brooks and how that led into the career that you're doing in hip-hop now.
No question. So I'd always wanted to go to a service academy ever since I was probably in third grade. And a lot of people don't know this, but I actually I wanted to go to Navy, believe it or not, until I was probably a junior in high school. And I think that spurred from seeing the movie Annapolis with James Franco.
No,
you remember that
dude,
movie?
No.
Yeah, man. And I think that's where that started. But I had always wanted to surf. That's something I knew I wanted to do. And so what happened was I went to SLS at the time, which is now SLE, and I actually from there got a direct nomination from the Soup at the time, which was General Huntoon. So I never went through the congressional nominations or anything. No, he basically nominated one male and one female from that SLE experience, and I was the male that they chose.
Wow, that's really cool.
So I came here, and I had always messed around with hip-hop. I released a mixtape in high school under a different alias. I went by Taino, T-A-I-N-O. It's the Taino. It's the native, the indigenous name for the indigenous population in Puerto Rico.
Okay,
so I was trying to do this whole 787, which is the area code and stuff like that. You probably won't find it anymore. But I released a mixtape in high school. I was trying to sound like Lil Wayne. It was a whole thing.
It was a whole thing.
Yeah, and so I come here and I really started to develop my sound. And the irony is, when I came here, that's when I knew that I wanted to do hip hop full time. And now I'm locked into a military contract, right?
Right, yeah.
And I could have left, but I was too committed to what I wanted to do serving, because that was still something I wanted to do, was be in the military. And so what had happened was I came to West Point and I was very homesick because I still had a lot of my family back home.
Right, yeah, me too.
Siblings are younger. All my friends are there. My girlfriend at the time was there. And so I wanted something that could remind me of home. And I felt like that was my identity, even though I was out here. So what I did is I scrapped Taino when I came out here. And my parents are actually divorced. So they divorced when I was 8 months old. And I grew up in two neighborhoods in Milwaukee because of that. And the neighborhoods I grew up in were Wauwatosa and Brookfield. So what I did is when I combined them together, it became Tosa Brooks. And that's when I developed that moniker and took that.
That's awesome. And so how did you then transition and say, all right, I'm developing my music skills out here.
Yeah.
I'm getting kind of big amongst the Corps and everything.
Right.
Like, when did you decide, I want to go ahead and commit and make this first Spirit video?
Right. So I was actually scheduled to go to Chile for a semester abroad that first semester my junior year. So what had happened was with that, I don't remember exactly how it fell through, but for some reason they weren't able to send me. And I was really upset about that. And I remember going into this school year being like, all right, if I wasn't doing this semester abroad, which is something I really wanted to do to broaden up my Spanish skills,
right.
I wanted to do something that was a little bit out of the ordinary from just the monotony of being a cadet. And because you know how that can get.
Oh, yeah.
It's gray walls, it's gray sky, gray uniforms, it's gray everything, right? So what really came about is it was during SCUSA, and I had decided I wanted to do this music video for Army Navy. It had never been done before. No rap, obviously, was with West Point. And I was bumping the song that I made with a studio I use in Peekskill called AFA Recording Studios. The engineer there, Chris, did a really great job. And I was bumping it in my room, and it was that SCUSA week. And there were all these civilians just walking the halls. And I was bumping the song really loud for a buddy of mine, and this guy stops, and he's like, "Yo, is that you?" I'm like, yeah. He's like, what is this for? And I told him the whole story, and he was like, "Oh, I have a guy in the city that can actually film you.
No.
And so it was so random like that. We ended up bringing his buddy up here to the city. And there was a lot of hiccups along the way because it was the first time me doing it. Like the lights in the stadium weren't on when we drove up there. And I had to call the lights guy, and he was having dinner with his family, and he hung up on me. I call him back. I'm like, sir, give me 2 seconds. He's like, what? I'm like, look, I'm a cadet. I want to do this spirit video. Give me 10 minutes. 10 minutes. He was having dinner. He was mad, right?
Right.
Silent for like 10 seconds. All of a sudden, I hear, you have 10 minutes. Boom, boom, boom. The lights come on. I'm like, let's go.
Oh, my gosh.
We run out on the field, do it, release it. To be honest with you, it was kind of difficult releasing it because I had a lot of pushback from the academy at the time because they didn't know what it was.
Right.
We release it, and CNN picked it up, USA Today picks it up, and Bro Bible picked it up, and it kind of went viral. And that was the first official release from Tosa Brooks.
And that was Devil's Advocate.
No, that was 11
years.
11
years. Okay.
My senior year, we did Devil's Advocate. Yeah.
Right.
And that's really what started the whole image of being a cadet and a rapper, and what kind of differentiated me from the rest of my class, where I was able to develop a connection with people on that music-based level, where people looked at me first as an artist. Not a football player, not a track athlete, not a guy from Milwaukee. I was a hip-hop artist.
Right. And
that was so critical in my development.
That is such a cool story. And we've been friends for a little while now, and I haven't even gotten that full explanation. So I'm just entranced that.
And I'm leaving it a little bit out, but
hey, you know how it goes, man. You can't spill all the beans out here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And so I wanted to transition to speak a little bit about your newest video that you just made, Juice.
Correct.
So this was the longest video that you've made
100%
so far.
Mm-hmm.
You have multiple tracks on there, and I know, being along with you for the ride, that making that and getting it out there for everybody was a little bumpy. But I want you to talk a little more on the, technical side of it, the planning process that you went through to film in Philly and New York,
mm-hmm.
Here at West Point, and just give us a little context on all of that.
For sure. So the video, we were deciding for months what to do. Between Brad and myself, we were like, all right, we need to do something that hasn't been done before. That's why 11 years was successful. And the initial thought was we were going to fly to Afghanistan and actually film on ground in Afghanistan. That's what we really wanted to do. And I'm dead serious about that, bro.
That's a little precursor for the next video.
Yeah, right? Maybe. Yeah, that's a sneak peek right there. But we wanted to do that. We just didn't, to be honest with you, it was the money. That was the big thing, because I didn't realize how expensive. If you're not taking a C-130 on the government's dime, it's very expensive to get to the Middle East nowadays. So we scrapped that, and we decided, you know what? Let's do 4 songs in 4 different cities with 4 completely different scenes, with the intention of giving them a complete array of tricks, if you will, of what Tosa Brooks could do as an artist. Some fast, some more mainstream, some a little bit more introspective, and give them a full paintbrush stroke about what I could do as an artist. Meanwhile, intersplicing a lot of West Point football clips to obviously inspire the team. So, we went to West Point, we went to New York City, we went to Philadelphia, and then we shot some footage in AFA recording studios in Peekskill. And we flipped the order around a little bit, but basically the whole intent was doing 4 songs and giving people 4 different types of sounds to experience. It was really kind of like a short movie. It turned out pretty well beyond the expectations that I had. So yeah.
Yeah, that video blew me away. I was impressed with Oz last year, but Juice this year really did it for me.
And the title was kind of, I didn't know what to call it until literally the last day before I posted it.
Really?
Yeah, and I was talking to my homeboy, Big Al. He's pretty much my best friend from way back in high school. And, he's in the NFL right now. And every time I can talk to him, if he's not at practice or something, I'm always asking him, hey, what do you think about this or that? And we were talking about what to title the album. And he's like, well, who are you as a person? And I was like, well, I'm a hip-hop artist. I represent Milwaukee. I'm a military person, pro-military, and I'm an avid juicer. Like, I love cold pressed juicing, bro. I'm talking like I have a green juice in the morning that's cucumber, spinach, celery, lemon, lime. In a masticating juicer, it's an Omega 8006, and Omega didn't even pay me for that. I'm serious. I just love that juicer. And then in the evening time, I do a sweet potato and carrot.
Really? Every day?
Every day of my life. And, well, except today, because we were kind of running around. But every single day that I can, I juice raw vegetables.
Wow.
I still got one in today, correct. And so he was like, man, there's always this playoff, you got the juice, or, that's a very common phrase. And then I was like, damn, that does make sense. And then on top of that, I'm actually a big Ohio State football fan, outside of Army football.
Right, of course. It better be outside of Army football.
Correct. Yeah, I was born in Ohio. My uncle coached for Woody Hayes, so there's a lot of Buckeye roots. And there was this guy about 5 or 6 years ago, a former player, I believe, that did a hype song for Ohio State, and he called it Juice. And I always watched that video, and I was like, man, I want to redo that for Army, but better. And I think we did it.
Yeah, I think you did it too, brother. Yeah. I mean, that went really hard, and they played that. We set it up to be played at the concert as your opener, right?
Right.
And so, I was watching on the CCTV.
Yeah, the closed caption.
Right, and people were digging it, man. Yeah. And we shared it across our social media platforms and everything like that. But like the people, there were some in the crowd, like some of the civilians maybe that hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
And I think they really liked it.
Awesome.
And so like the transition from that into your live performance, like, I know last year we set it up at the Firsty Club, and we were, on the come up, like we wanted to come back, give back to the cadets, at West Point.
Right.
And since we were fortunate enough to be able to set it up so that this year you could come and perform at Ike Hall,
right.
I wanted to get like your entire thought process, like as you guys were rehearsing. We had a WKDT DJ, Pistol Pete, up there on stage.
Shout out Pistol Pete.
Right, shout out to Big Pistol Pete. My man asked BB Rex to the 500th night.
But he didn't know the date. How do you not know the date if you're gonna ask the group, especially BB Rex?
Right, we're gonna very publicly roast him for that for sure. Yeah. But so I wanted to get your thoughts like on the development from last year performing at the Firsty Club. Everybody loved that, and then moving into this year being an Ike Hall and performing for BB Rex.
Man, let me tell you. So when I performed at the Firsty, that was surreal to me because that was my first time performing back here as a graduate. And, you grow up as a cadet, going to the Firsty and, seeing performances or whatever, and then going to Ike Hall. I mean, Ike Hall was the place, at least for our class, where they were like, you have 90 seconds to say goodbye. That happened at Ike Hall for us.
Yeah, that was me too.
And so to come back and be on this path in my life, in our lives, it was surreal. And I loved my Firsty experience just because it was a direct interaction with cadets only.
Right.
And what was interesting about this was the first time we've really ventured outside of military personnel or cadets for a performance. And I thought that the response was incredible. People wanting autographs, taking pictures, whatever, just wanting to talk.
Yeah, man, I saw a bunch of, ladies trying to come up and get your autograph afterwards, man.
Man, I'm talking from 6 years old to 60, man. We were all over the place.
We was everywhere. We had all the demographics.
Right, but to answer your question about rehearsals backstage and things like that, the mindset was very similar to actually how I feel before a track meet, where I'm kind of getting into the blocks. Right. And, I got a little bit of nerves.
It's nothing but business.
It's nothing but business. And then what happens is you get your thumbs on the line, basically, for a sprinter. That's what I'm referring to. And you take this deep breath, and it's like you just exhale all of that stress and all that stuff.
It all fades away.
Fades away. The other way I describe it is in football, after I play quarterback, after you get that first hit, and you're just not nervous anymore. And that's how it felt, where once I came together with my people, we rehearsed, we did a mic check. Right. That's really where my exhale occurred. And I wasn't really that nervous. I went out on stage, and it was such a warm reception and a really wonderful crowd. I know it can be tough out there if you have some cold crowds.
Yeah, it can be tough.
Oh, yeah. And I'm sure we'll experience some of those. Excuse me, that's my sheet for work. My other job. But yeah, no, overall, I thought that really the performance leading up to the performance of just getting everything straight in your mind was such a cool experience for me. And I was able to share it with a lot of people that shared it back with me. And that energy between myself and the crowd was something that I just want to build off of.
Definitely. Yeah, I think you did an excellent job in the concert for sure. I wish we had Nova with us, so he could kind of give us some of his perspective. But
yeah, shout out to Nova. He did this 2-minute freestyle with something called the word game for those that weren't there. And basically we had the audience write down words on note cards, and they didn't know beforehand. We collected them together. We found somebody in the crowd. They came up, and she read off the note cards, and he created a rap on the spot based on the words on the note cards. And I think that, to be honest with you, that was like one of the biggest highlights of our whole performance was the word game.
I think so too. That's when people really just
that's
when
they were like, oh
my
gosh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Then they really recognize the talent and like what goes into making things like this.
Right. And Nova and I, we complement each other really well because he's a lot more of like this. He's like just a monster, He's like this rabid dog that you just gotta let off the leash.
You keep him on the leash,
right? Until you're ready.
When it's ready,
Exactly. But he needs direction, and that's where I come in, right? Because I'm really full steam ahead, fearless leader, along with Brad. Obviously, he's kind of the echelon above me in terms of helping put me in the right direction. So it all works kind of in a synergistic form, if you will. He's kind of the yin to my yang, and. Yeah, I mean, a little bit, yeah. But no, it's really it was quite a pleasure performing for everybody.
So Tosa, man, in closing, I just need to ask this question. So what's next for Tosa Brooks?
Well, let's talk to the manager. What's next for Tosa Brooks?
He's writing a 3-peat next week.
Am I?
Yes, you are.
I'm writing a 3-peat next week. Oh, like a celebration track. Okay, so we're gonna pump out a celebration track for the Army-Navy game to follow up.
Oh, 100%, absolutely. You got to capitalize on that, on that social media movement.
Yes,
for sure.
And then after that, really, it's just about I want to do a lot more live performances. At least one open mic a week is my goal in 2019. Kind of doing my New Year's resolutions here, but
yeah, right.
One open mic a week, and then start to work on another project and execute from start to finish. So that's basically, you can look for a project from 2019 from Tosa Brooks, one open mic or live performance a week, and then I guess we have a follow-up 3-peat track coming hopefully in the next week or so.
Yeah, so if you're interested to know more, Tosa, go ahead and hand out your handle for Instagram. What is that?
For sure.
Off the top of my head.
No, it's all good. So, yeah, anything that I do, Instagram is definitely the best way to follow me. It's where I do all my updates, selfie videos, random thoughts, whatever the case may be. Cats. I love cats. I'm always posting stories of cats that I see. There's a lot of stray cats in the Bay, and I'm always posting them. I don't know why, but I love cats. Anyways, my Instagram, where you can find all that and more, is Tosa Brooks. So just at Tosa Brooks, Tosa Brooks, Brooks.
Too easy, and I think that's all we got time for today. All right, this has been Tosa B on the beat today. You know how it is. All right, Rock Dyke Hall with BB Rexa, and stay tuned for more updates concerning WKDT and Ike Hall, and we should have an interview with BB Rexa coming up in the next few weeks, so there's a little sneak peek. This has been Cadet in Charge, Cadet Nicholas Savay, here with 89.3 WKDT, the voice of the Corps.